And tonight, a follow-up to a story that we brought you last night. The network of Matt Lauer, Brian Williams, NBC News, which operates under the guise of journalism, is once again putting liberal host Melissa Harris Perry out there to tout the Peacock Network's leftist agenda. Now watch this.
Americans will always want some level of inequality because it's a representation of meritocracy. People who work hard and sacrifice and save their money and make major contributions, we think that they should earn a little more and they should have more resources, and that's fine. But we also, however, have to have a floor under which nobody falls. And if you're below that, especially if you're a child and you're below that, we are not going to accept that. You do have the right to health care and to education and to decent housing and to quality food at all times.
Oh, Obama phones, Obama food, Obama housing. Wow. Only hardworking people. You just get a little teensy-weensy little bit more. Now, the socialist ad comes on the heels of the Harris Perry promo that we aired last night. So let's remind our audience of the lunacy that is being promoted by NBC News.
We have never invested as much in public education as we should have because we've always had kind of a private notion of children. Your kid is yours and totally your responsibility. We haven't had a very collective notion of these are our children. So part of it is we have to break through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents or kids belong to their families and recognize that kids belong to whole communities. Once it's everybody's responsibility and not just the households, then we start making better investments.
Your children belong to the community, not to you. Hope Matt Lauer, Brian Williams are proud of this leftist garbage. Here with reaction, Fox News contributors Michelle Malkin, Leslie Marshall. Leslie, let's go over these words carefully here. So part of it, we have to break through our kind of private idea that the kids belong to their parents. No. Or that the kids belong to their families, and recognize the kids belong to the entire community. You have kids, right, Leslie?
Yes, I do. I have two, and I would agree with that. I mean, as I'm sitting here right now, my daughter's at ballet, my son, I do believe that we as a community have a responsibility to the children, and not just the 500,000 children on the Blue Book who are orphans and don't have parents. But when I send my kids to school, Sean, the teacher is part of that community taking care of them. When we pay, and before I had kids, when I paid with my tax dollars for the public school system and for breakfast and lunch for kids that weren't mine, was that making me a socialist?
Excuse me.
Or was that making me part of a community taking care of our children?
My kids do not belong to the, quote, whole community. They're not everybody's problem. They're my responsibility. And you know what? That doesn't mean we don't take care of kids in need. We do. We're a compassionate society. How do you react to this lunacy? Because I think liberal moral superiority and sanctimony kicks in here because they think they know better than us. We conservatives, we dopes, we Neanderthals, how to raise our kids.
We're all parents here, Leslie, Sean, and myself, and I think that this sentiment broadcast on MSNBC, which we now, it's confirmed, stands for Maoist Socialist Nutballs Broadcasting Company, should send a shiver down every parent's spine. I mean, what we're talking about here is the worst kind of collectivism, and yes, it is anti-American. This is a message not only to these people who didn't have any problem whatsoever with broadcasting this. That's what's creepy to me, that there wasn't a single producer or editor who looked at this woman broadcasting these diatribes and thought, this is just bone-chilling. I think there is something that every parent who believes in the primacy and the sacrosanct nature of the family as the building block of civil society wants to say to these progressives who claim that their children belong to everybody else. You know what it is? Hands off my kids.
Exactly.
My kids are not your guinea pigs. My kids are not your cash cows. My kids' minds are not for you to propagandize, and my kids' futures are not for you to raid in the name of social justice and the need for more failed investments.
You know, I think there's a deeper level here, Leslie, that we have seen, and You know, liberals often say conservatives, they're trying to impose their values on society. You look at government-run schools where many kids are trapped in failing school systems, but often it's the left that feels that they don't like the values that are being taught at home. After all, those parents believe in Jesus. Those parents, you know, are Christians. So they think they have the right to counter or contradict the values that parents are instilling in their kids, either through sex education, views on homosexuality, whatever it happens to be, because they think they're right.
I would totally disagree with that, not only as a parent and a taxpayer and a member of the community.
When they show, wait a minute, if they're giving first graders Heather has two mommies, if they're showing kids how to put a condom on a cucumber.
Well, you want no abortion, stop the pregnancy, that's a whole other topic. Michelle, I love your passion, but I want to know where the passion is by Americans on the right, since I am on the left and such a loon, that thousands of children tonight will go to bed hungry. Whose responsibility are they if their parents can't afford to feed them? Their parents will throw the child under the bus.
This is an alien, this is an alien concept to you.
The child is thrown under the bus.
Leslie, let her answer.
I know.
What about the 500,000 children that have no parents? Or the children whose parents smoke crack or put heroin in their arms?
A civil society relies on parents and private charity and churches and local organizations and local governments and state governments to be the primary caretakers and carers of the children. You want to talk about federal investments? I mean, you people do not operate in reality. You've got these people at MSNBC that bemoan the fact that we don't invest enough. Fact. The OECD reports that the United States now, it spends more per capita on education than any other of the 34 wealthiest countries in the world, except for Switzerland. The amount of money that we have spent on discretionary at the federal level alone is now $51 billion. That's on top of $34 billion for mandatory Pell Grants, $4 billion for Race to the Top. And you look at every single liberal paradise where all they do is spend, 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 and the record is one of abysmal failure for children.
Are we talking about morality? If there's a kid across the street hungry, I'm not looking to the church. I'm going to give them some food.
All right, my question to you is, in this ad, she says that you have a right to health care, right to education, right to decent housing, right to quality food at all times. I don't have a problem with the safety net, but when 1 in 5 children live in poverty, the government now has failed people because they have taken over such a large part of the economy. But that's a different story. I mean, is there anything that you don't think should the government provide health care? Yes. Dental care? Yes. Housing? Yes. Obama phones? Yes. Clothing? What, we're going to have the Obama clothing line coming out next? I'm just wondering, at what point do you say government doesn't need to be involved in every aspect of people's lives, the states, local communities, churches, that they can fill the void here? Does that come into your thinking at all, Leslie?
It does. As a matter of fact, last night I was watching a documentary on Mormonism. I kid you not, I'm not a Mormon. And I was blown away by something that they have an entire square in Salt Lake City, Utah, where everything is free for not just members of the church, but members of the community who are in need. We need to do more of that. Church attendance is down, and that means money in the coffer is down and less to give to those children through charitable organizations. All
right, well, we got to roll.
Bottom line, look at every Democrat-run city. Chicago, Detroit, Philadelphia, Los Angeles. These liberal hellholes have proven impervious to social justice.
Doing very well.